The temple doors opened with a low mechanical sigh, and Ahsoka Tano stepped into the falling light of Coruscant evening without looking back. Behind her, Anakin Skywalker stopped breathing. For one terrible second, the world held still, the polished floor beneath his boots. The red sun burning through the glass, the sound of distant speeders crossing the city below. Then it all shattered at once. Fire swallowed his skin. A black mask closed over his face. Obi-Wan screamed his name across a river of lava. Padme went cold in his arms. Younglings cried behind sealed temple doors. The Emperor laughed beside a storm-lit window. And somewhere far beyond all of it, Luke Skywalker lifted a broken helmet and saw the face that should have died long before. Anakin fell to one knee. His hand hit the temple floor hard enough to split the skin across his knuckles. Blood marked the white stone. Not much, just enough to prove this was real. He remembered everything. Not dreams, not visions, not pieces. Everything. The war, the betrayal, Mustafar, the suit, the breathing. The decades of obedience, the moment he learned too late that every promise had been poison. He remembered hunting the people who once loved him. He remembered Ahsoka walking away. He remembered that this was the first cut, the first moment something inside him had started to break. At the end of the corridor, Ahsoka kept walking. Anakin looked up, saw her small against the gold horizon, and understood the first truth of his new life. If he let her leave now, the galaxy would burn again. He forced himself up. Blood ran from his knuckles onto his wrist. One of the tiny council room beads from Ahsoka's broken Padawan braid still lay near his boot. He picked it up with shaking fingers, closed his fist around it, and ran. He caught her at the landing platform just as rain began to strike the durasteel in thin silver lines. The city wind pulled at her cloak. She half turned, already guarded, already tired. "Don't," she said, "not now." But Anakin did not stop. He reached her with rain on his face and blood in his palm, and looked at her like a drowning man looks at air. "If you leave tonight," he said, voice rough, "I lose everything." Ahsoka frowned, not because of the words. Because of the way he said them. There was no anger in him, no wounded pride, only fear. Deep, old fear, far too old for the face he wore. She looked down and saw the blood dripping from his hand. What happened? Anakin opened his fist. The tiny braid bead rested in his palm, streaked red. "You did," he whispered, "and I did, and he did, and if you board that ship before I tell you the truth, the Republic dies." The rain grew harder. It tapped across the platform roof, ran down the hull of her shuttle, and darkened the edge of his tunic. Ahsoka should have left. She knew that. She had spent days fighting to stand on her own feet again. The Order had judged her, failed her, then expected quiet gratitude when the truth came out. She owed them nothing. But this was not the Anakin she had walked away from minutes earlier. This man looked haunted. So she did not leave. She gave him 1 hour. They moved to an abandoned navigation gallery 3 levels below the platform, a place of silent star maps and dark glass, where the rain turned the whole city into blurred fire. Anakin stood under dim blue light and told her impossible things. He spoke of a black suit before such a suit existed. He named battles no one had fought yet. He described the death of Count Dooku, the fall of the Jedi Temple, the murder of children, the rise of an empire, and her own future duel against him on a shattered world called Malachor. Ahsoka drew her sabers twice while he spoke. The first time was when he said the name Darth Vader. The second was when he described the exact words she would say to him years later. "I won't leave you. Not this time." He did not flinch either time. He only reached into his belt, took out his comlink, and set it on the table between them. "In 3 months, he said, Clone Trooper CT 5385, Tup, will murder a Jedi Master on Ringo Vinda. Everyone will call it madness. It won't be madness. It will be programming. A control chip. Every clone carries one." Ahsoka's blades lowered a fraction. "In 5 months," he continued, "Fives will discover the truth and die before he can prove it. In less than a year, Chancellor Palpatine will command those chips to activate. The order will be simple. Kill the Jedi." The blue gallery lights reflected in the rain behind him. They also reflected in his eyes, and for one awful moment, Ahsoka saw the shape of a mask that was not there. "Who is Palpatine?" she asked quietly, though she already feared the answer. Anakin swallowed. "The Sith Lord behind the war, the one who made me believe I could save everyone if I obeyed him." He looked down at the bead in his bloodied hand. "The one who turned me into Vader." Silence filled the gallery. Then Ahsoka asked the only question that mattered. "If this is true, why tell me first?" "Because you leaving is where I started lying to myself," Anakin said. "And because if I go to the council now, they won't trust me enough. But you might trust me just enough to help me save Fives." The bead rolled from his fingers onto the table. Ahsoka stared at it. One broken thing, one small piece left over from the moment everything began to come apart. She picked it up, wiped the blood from its surface with her thumb, and closed her hand around it. "You have 1 hour more," she said. "After that, I decide whether I arrest you, report you, or help you." For the first time since the memories struck him, Anakin breathed like a living man. They started with Rex. 3 weeks later, the gunship hangar on Annexes shook with artillery thunder as the war pushed forward as if nothing had changed. Inside a medical storage room beneath the main deck, Captain Rex stood under stark white light with his helmet off and his jaw tight. Ahsoka leaned against a crate with her arms crossed. Fives paced like a cornered animal, and Anakin set a sealed data tablet onto the table with a hand that had finally stopped shaking.
Oh.
He had spent those weeks proving himself. Every prediction about supply routes, droid fence, and separatist comm delays had landed exactly where he said it would. Not all of them were dramatic. Some were small, enough to save patrols, enough to make Rex listen. Enough to convince Fives that the strange pressure he had felt around Kamino was not paranoia. Now came the real test. Anakin activated the tablet. A medical image rotated above it. A tiny glowing object lodged deep in a clone brain. "That is what kills the Jedi," he said. Rex did not move. Fives leaned in. "Where did you get this?" "From the future." Fives actually laughed at that, once, sharp and humorless. Then he saw Anakin's face and stopped. Anakin told them about Toop, about Kamino, about the inhibitor chip, about the words "Execute Order 66. He told them Fives would be hunted the moment he got close to the truth. He told Rex he would one day try to kill Ahsoka with tears in his eyes because his own mind would no longer belong to him. Rex looked at Ahsoka then, and that was what decided it. She gave one slow nod. No speech. No comfort, just trust. By nightfall, they had a scanner stolen from a restricted med lab and a trembling Kaminoan technician held behind a blast door. By dawn, they had proof, chips, records, behavioral compliance protocols tied to Emergency Command Authority. The files were incomplete, heavily sealed, protected by Chancellor-level encryption, but they were real. Fives slammed both palms onto the metal table so hard the tools jumped. "We have them," he said. "We finally have them." "No," Anakin said, staring at the screen. "We have enough to scare Palpatine." As if the Sith could hear his name, every light in the room flickered. The technician looked up in sudden terror. A coded transmission screamed across the base network, then the outer alarms began to howl. Separatist attack? That was what the officers thought at first. Droids hit the western ridge, gunships scrambled, turbo lasers rotated. But Anakin felt the truth before anyone said it. This was too clean. Too fast. Too perfectly timed. He grabbed the chip container off the table. Ahsoka snatched the data tablet. Rex drew his blasters. Fives sealed the med room. Then the ceiling above them shook once with the sound of docking clamps. Not droids. A black shuttle. Palpatine had moved early. The medroom door blasted inward in a wash of sparks and smoke. Clone commandos rushed through first, but they did not fire. Not when they saw Rex. Not when they saw Anakin standing in white medical light with a chip vial in his hand. They hesitated. That hesitation saved everyone. Ahsoka dropped 2 men with the flat of her blade. Rex shouted code clearance. Fives kicked the scanner card into the doorway. Anakin felt the shape of the attack behind the clones, reached through the Force, and crushed the power core of the dark probe droid floating in behind them. It exploded against the wall. The blast blackened the room and threw sterile tools across the floor. The chip vial slipped from Anakin's hand. It struck the Dura steel, rolled beneath the overturned table, and vanished into smoke. Everyone saw it go. That changed the fight. Now it was not just about escaping. It was about not losing the single piece of proof that could stop a galactic murder before it began. Rex covered the door. Ahsoka disarmed another commando. Fives dropped to one knee and reached under the table as boots hammered closer through the corridor. And Anakin saw red then. Not a blade. A reflection. Crimson light flashing across the medroom wall from the polished shell of a descending shuttle outside the shattered viewport. Palpatine was not here himself, not yet, but his shadow already was. He was close enough to feel the disturbance. "Leave the scanner," Anakin shouted. "Forget the scanner," Ahsoka snapped back. "Get the vial." Fives's fingers closed around it just as blaster fire chewed through the room. They escaped through a surgical waste chute with white smoke on their armor, stolen evidence in a med seal pouch, and one terrifying new certainty. The Sith now knew someone had reached the truth early. Palpatine answered by accelerating the war. From that point on, every day felt stolen. He shifted fronts, moved fleets sooner, fed false victories to both sides. Count Dooku received orders he should not have needed for months. Grievous struck supply lines that had once been safe. Senate panic grew faster. Jedi deployments stretched thinner. It was all designed to do one thing: keep Anakin moving until he made a mistake. So Anakin changed the game. He stopped reacting and started hunting weak points in the old future. He brought Obi-Wan in next. That conversation happened in an empty war room over a hologram of burning worlds. Obi-Wan listened without interrupting, while Anakin confessed things no brother should ever hear. Not just the chips, not just Palpatine, everything. Padme, the slaughter at the temple, the hatred, the lava, the suit, the decades. He spoke until his throat hurt and his hands went numb, and the room smelled like warm projector dust and stale calf. When he finished, Obi-Wan looked as if he had aged 10 years in 1 hour, but he did not step away. He asked one question. When the time came in that future, did anyone try to stop you? Anakin's answer was immediate. You did. Obi-Wan closed his eyes. When he opened them again, there was grief there, but there was something else too. Purpose. Clean, painful purpose. Then let me do better this time. That was how the first real alliance formed. Anakin, Ahsoka, Obi-Wan, Rex, Fives. 5 people holding a stolen truth above a pit that wanted to swallow it. They used Fives as the bait Palpatine expected, but not the way Palpatine wanted. The clone was publicly flagged for instability, exactly as the old future required. Reports were leaked, behavior concerns were logged, Kamino and panic was allowed to rise. Only now Fives never stood alone in a diner, never wandered drugged and terrified through Coruscant, never died in an alley begging someone to listen. Instead, he vanished on purpose. Rex smuggled him through maintenance lanes beneath the military district. Ahsoka carried the real data crystal. Obi-Wan forged transfer orders to a secure Jedi med lab. Anakin, forced by the role Palpatine still believed he owned, walked into the Chancellor's office and pretended nothing had changed. That was the hardest part. Palpatine smiled at him across warm firelight and polished stone, the picture of calm wisdom, and Anakin had to stand there with memories of chains burning in his skull. My boy, Palpatine said, you look tired. Anakin bowed his head just enough. The war is taking its toll. Of course it is. Palpatine moved closer, gentle, patient, almost fatherly. That is why you must trust the few who truly understand what sacrifice looks like. The office felt smaller with every step the Chancellor took. Anakin could hear the rain outside those great windows. He could also hear another sound layered beneath it, one not yet present in this year of his life, but already carved into him forever. Mechanical breathing. He clenched his jaw so hard pain flashed behind his eyes. Palpatine noticed something. Not enough. A tiny stiffness, a missing softness, a wall where obedience used to live. The Sith Lord smiled anyway. Has your former apprentice contacted you? Anakin kept his face still. No. Pity, Palpatine said. Isolation makes us vulnerable. The people we love often become the openings our enemies use. The trap in that sentence was perfect. In the old future, it would have worked. Now Anakin only heard the venom underneath. He left the office alive, but the cost was clear. Palpatine suspected movement around him. Not the full truth, not yet, but enough to begin pressing harder. So the Jedi Council got the proof before he could bury it again. Not all of it. The data was still fragmented. Some files could be dismissed. Some records were too deeply sealed. But the chips were real, and Fives was alive to testify, and Rex submitted himself to a scan under Yoda's direct watch. When the tiny control device appeared in the medical projection above the council chamber, silence hit like a physical blow. Mace Windu's expression turned to stone. Ki-Adi-Mundi looked sick. Plo Koon lowered his head. Yoda stared at Anakin for a very long time. Dark the future was, he said softly. Dark it remains, but fixed it is not. That should have been the moment they moved on Palpatine. It was not. Because war had already spread too far, too fast. Palpatine had built his trap well. Public accusation without enough visible evidence would break the Republic before it saved it. The Council understood that, so did Anakin, bitterly. If they moved too early, Palpatine would trigger every chip at once and call the Jedi traitors. If they waited too long, he would shape the battlefield again. Ahsoka made the decision no one else wanted to make. Then we don't build a case, she said. We break his control. That became the mission. Not just expose the Sith, disable the Order. The next phase of the war happened in shadows. Rex led quiet extractions of clone officers marked as stable enough to trust. Ahsoka and Fives worked medical channels, locating chips and building a network of surgeons loyal to the truth. Obi-Wan traced separatist routing codes to hidden laboratories that handled command architecture. Anakin did what only he could do. He remembered where Palpatine kept his deepest pressure points. He found one on Sereno. Count Dooku expected an assassin. What stepped into the ruined archive instead was a Jedi Knight wearing Republic armor and speaking with the certainty of a dead man. Anakin did not waste time. In your master's office, he said, there is a locked drawer behind the third red hollow statue. Inside is the route to a treasury vault on Scipio, and another path to a private chamber beneath the Senate. Dooku's curved blade snapped into his hand. How do you know that? Because in another life, he made me his weapon after he finished using you. That earned a pause. Only a pause, but again, a pause was enough. Anakin did not try to redeem Dooku. He aimed lower and smarter. Doubt, pride, survival. He already has your replacement, Anakin said, and if you still believe you are his partner, you deserve the grave he built for you. The old Count's expression hardened, not with outrage, with recognition. The duel that followed was short, savage, and mostly silent. Stone split. Dust rose, shelves burned, but Anakin did not come to win with his blade. He came to leave a wound in Palpatine's design. So when Dooku finally leaped back, cloak torn and breath heavy, Anakin deactivated his saber. Open the drawer, he said, then decide whether you still serve. He walked away before the Count could answer. 3 days later, encrypted accounts tied to Senate emergency expenditures began disappearing from protected channels. Dooku had looked. Palpatine's mask started to crack. He answered with terror. The Battle of Coruscant came early. Sirens screamed across the capital while smoke rolled over the Senate district and separatist cruisers tore fire through the upper lanes. General Grievous struck hard and publicly, exactly as Palpatine needed. Chaos on the streets, fear in the Senate, pressure on the Jedi. The old future bending toward the same cliff from a different angle, but only now Ahsoka was there. She never should have been. Officially, she was still outside the Order. Unofficially, she stood beside Anakin on a burning transport bridge while clone pilots dragged wrecked gunships through anti-air fire and Senate towers shed glass into the sky. Grievous had kidnapped the Chancellor in the timeline Palpatine originally wanted. This time, the Chancellor staged the kidnapping and prepared the trap beneath it. Anakin knew Dooku would be waiting. He also knew Palpatine expected him to kill. So when the three of them reached the observation chamber above a shattered viewport, and Dooku ignited both red blades in a storm of sparks, history leaned forward. The Count fought Obi-Wan first, forcing the older Jedi wide. He pressed Ahsoka second, trying to split the room. Then Anakin came through the middle like a falling wall. Steel screamed, sparks sprayed the black floor, Coruscant burned outside the broken glass. In the old future, Dooku would have disarmed Obi-Wan, beaten Anakin down with rage, and offered his neck to a boy desperate for approval. This time Ahsoka never left Anakin's flank. That changed the geometry of everything. 2 blue blades and 1 green pinned Dooku into defense. Obi-Wan rose sooner. Ahsoka cut off the retreat lane. Anakin drove forward with terrifying precision, not fury. He did not want the Count dead. He wanted him speaking. Palpatine's voice boomed through the chamber speakers anyway. Kill him. Anakin froze for half a second. That voice, that exact tone, the same command that had once torn the last restraint out of him. His fingers tightened around his hilt. Then Ahsoka said his name. Only his name. Nothing more. He stepped back. Dooku saw the whole war end in that moment. Not literally, but strategically. Palpatine had lost the clean path, the easy path, the apprentice who obeyed. The Count laughed once, tired and ugly. Now you see him, he said. They took him alive. That single choice broke the Republic open. Dooku's testimony did not save the galaxy on its own. It was too compromised, too political, too easy to challenge. But when combined with the Treasury leaks, the chip evidence, the clone scans, and 5's live testimony, it created something Palpatine hated more than any army. Pattern. A visible pattern. The Council moved. The Senate split. Palpatine struck first. Order 66 went out as a fractured command burst across hidden military channels while Coruscant still burned. Some clones heard it and obeyed immediately. Some heard corrupted fragments. Some never received it at all because 5's and Rex had already compromised the relay architecture. Some felt the chip bite and still fought it long enough to warn the Jedi nearest them, so the night of death became the night of fracture. Not victory, never that. Too many still died, but not enough to crown an empire cleanly. Across the galaxy, Jedi survived because a captain hesitated. Because a medic already knew where the chip lay. Because Ahsoka Tano had refused to board a shuttle months earlier. Because Anakin Skywalker chose rescue over revenge before the sky closed. In the temple, alarms roared. Blaster fire hammered the outer halls. Smoke filled the archives. Anakin did not race for Palpatine. He went for the children. Every instinct pulled him toward the Chancellor's office, toward lightning and judgment, and the chance to kill the man who had poisoned 2 lives at once. But he remembered the temple floors, slick with blood. He remembered small hands against locked doors. He remembered himself marching through those halls as a monster in human skin. So he turned away from the Senate Tower and ran deeper into the temple. Ahsoka was already there. Rex came through a side corridor with clones whose chips had been removed hours earlier. Obi-Wan reached the nursery levels from the Western Bridge. They did not save everyone. They could not, but they saved enough to make the future different in shape and spirit. Anakin carried a child out under one arm, while fire licked along the vaulted ceiling. His shoulder had taken a blaster hit. Blood darkened his sleeve. The child clung to him so hard he could hardly breathe. Ahsoka cut open an emergency lift shaft. Obi-Wan held collapsing debris back with both hands. Rex fired until his last power pack smoked. When they reached the lower transit platform, Anakin set the child down inside a refugee shuttle and looked back toward the heart of Coruscant.
The sky had gone red.
Palpatine was not fleeing. He was descending. That was when Dooku's final piece of information made sense. The Sith had a chamber beneath the old temple foundations, older than the Republic, older than the Order, a place of black stone, buried pylons, and a Kyber heart corrupted so long ago that even the Jedi archives held only whispers about it. Palpatine had never meant to use it unless his beautiful public ascent failed. Now it had failed, so he reached for the ugly version. The survivors gathered in the underworks of the capital, while the battle above became something stranger than war. Massive energy spikes climbed from the ground below the temple district. Transport routes died. Comms blacked out. Whole military blocks went dark, then lit blood red from underneath as if the city itself had begun to bleed. Dooku, held under guard and watching those readings, whispered one sentence. He is feeding the altar. No one had to ask with what. Fear, death, obedience, the chips, the war. All of it. Everything Palpatine had built was pouring into a machine older than his own ambition. Anakin looked at Ahsoka. Her armor was scorched. One lekka was cut near the edge. She still had the braid bead tied into the glove seam at her wrist. She noticed him looking. "We finish it," she said. "Not you. We." That word saved him again. The assault beneath the temple was not glorious. It was dark, wet, choking work through abandoned lifts and cracked ceremonial tunnels where old carvings had been burned away by fresh Sith symbols. Freed clones fought beside Jedi without certainty that they would all come back up. Fives carried demolition charges. Rex limped from an earlier wound but never slowed. Obi-Wan kept the formation moving. Ahsoka led the tight spaces. Anakin took the front whenever the walls started whispering with old machine breath. Then sound returned the closer they got. Not real, not yet, memory. The respirator he had worn for decades lived in his bones now. Every echo in those tunnels threatened to become it. Palpatine waited in a vast chamber of black pillars and crimson light, robes whipping in storm wind no underground hall should have possessed. Beneath him, suspended over a lattice of metal arms and burning crystal veins, hung the corrupted Kyber core. It pulsed like a diseased heart. Every pulse brightened the chips, still active across the Republic. Every pulse turned frightened men into executioners. The moment Anakin saw it, he understood. If the core survived, the war would never truly end. Palpatine could lose the Senate and still command slaughter by remote will. The chamber exploded into battle. Blue, green, and red light tore through the dark. Clones clashed with guards along narrow bridges over endless drops. Fives and Rex ran charges toward the support pylons. Obi-Wan and Ahsoka drove the red-robed sentinels back step by step. Palpatine rose above it all in a storm of lightning, ancient and furious, no longer bothering to pretend he was anything but a predator in human shape. He hit Anakin first. The lightning crashed into him like a memory made solid. Muscles locked, teeth clenched. For one sick instant he smelled Mustafar and burning flesh and felt black armor closing over him again. Palpatine smiled. "You see?" the Sith Lord shouted over the storm. "Even now, this is what you become." Anakin dropped to one knee. Then he looked to his left. Ahsoka was still fighting. He looked to his right. Obi-Wan was still standing. Beyond them, Rex dragged Fives clear of a collapsing rail, while freed clones held back men who should have been their brothers. None of them had left him, not this time. So Anakin rose, not because the pain stopped, because it did not matter anymore. He caught the lightning on his blade, drove forward through it one burning step at a time, and hurled himself toward the central lattice. Palpatine struck harder. The chamber screamed with power. Ahsoka leaped to the upper bridge and cut one of the focus arms. Obi-Wan severed another. Rex shouted that the pylons were primed. Fives triggered the first charges. The black floor split. The Kyber core dropped lower into its cradle. Brighter now, unstable. Palpatine finally understood the plan. "You would destroy the chamber?" he hissed. Anakin's answer came through clenched teeth. "I would destroy your future." He jumped. The last distance between him and the core vanished in white light and flying stone. He landed on the collapsing lattice, slid on sparks and molten fragments, and drove his saber down into the cracked crimson heart with both hands. Nothing happened. Then the entire Undercity convulsed. Zornfid, the core shattered from the inside. Crimson fire blasted up every support line. Palpatine screamed, not in rage this time, but in real fear. The chamber roof gave way, pillars toppled, bridges snapped and dropped screaming figures into the light below. Obi-Wan threw a force barrier over the nearest survivors. Ahsoka reached the lattice just long enough to grab Anakin's forearm as the platform split beneath them. They did not kill Palpatine with a clean blade. They buried him under the collapse of the weapon he had trusted more than any apprentice. Minodin, the climb out felt longer than the whole war. Smoke chased them through broken shafts. Heat poured up from below. Fives nearly blacked out, carrying an injured clone. Rex shoved him onward anyway. Obi-Wan supported Anakin after the shock tore half the strength out of his legs. Ahsoka refused to release his wrist until they reached open air. Bunny emerged onto a shattered upper court as dawn broke over Coruscant. The city looked like a wound trying to close. Fires still burned. Gunships still moved. Distant battles still flickered, but the red glow from beneath the temple was gone. So was the pressure that had wrapped around the clones who remained under partial control. All across the city, weapons lowered, men staggered, horrified, back into themselves. Some wept. Some ran to help. Some simply fell to their knees and stared at their own hands. The Empire had not been born. Not cleanly. Not completely. Not the way Palpatine wanted. What followed was not peace. It was worse and better than peace. It was rebuilding. The Senate stripped emergency powers under armed guard and public outrage. Hidden financial networks were exposed. Loyalist admirals tried to flee with fragments of the old plan. Some escaped. Many did not. The Kaminoan chip program became the scandal that broke the war machine apart. Worlds that had obeyed out of fear demanded new charters. Jedi who survived returned changed, humbled, less certain of their own untouchable wisdom. And Anakin Skywalker did not become Darth Vader. Not because darkness vanished from him, because other people refused to leave him alone inside it. Months later, the first new temple gathering took place in a sunlit hall without thrones. No child stood above another. No master spoke from a height. Clones healed beside Padawans. Civilians walked the same gardens as knights. Ahsoka came and went as she pleased, still not owned by the Order and no longer judged by it. Rex trained security cadres who answered to conscience before command. Fives, scarred but alive, helped design every safeguard that would keep another chip network from ever rising unseen. Padme lived. That mattered more than any Senate reform. She lived because Anakin told her the truth before fear could poison it. She lived because he chose confession over secrecy. She lived because the future that once killed her depended on lies, and this time the lies were cut open early. When their twins were born, Coruscant rain struck the high apartment glass just as it had the night Ahsoka almost left for good. Anakin held Luke first. He cried without shame. Years passed. Not easily, not perfectly. Imperial remnants vanished into unknown sectors. Hidden shipyards beyond mapped space went dark and stayed dark. Old officers kept old faith in secret. Children on far worlds still grew up hearing that the Jedi had stolen order from the galaxy and chaos had followed. But in the known stars, life returned. One morning, golden sunlight stretched across a rebuilt training court while a small boy in loose practice robes lifted a remote with the Force for the first time. Leia laughed from the stone rail beside Padme. Obi-Wan watched with the tired smile of a man who had earned at least part of his peace. Rex shook his head as if he still could not believe any of this was real. Ahsoka stood near the archway, arms folded, trying very hard not to look emotional and failing completely. Luke turned, excited, and the remote slipped. Anakin caught it before it hit the floor. For a brief moment, he just held it there between them, floating in a bar of warm light. Then he knelt to his son's height. "The Force gives you power," he said softly. "Your choices decide who you become." Luke nodded, not fully understanding yet. Few children ever do. Across the court, Ahsoka touched the tiny braid bead still fixed to her glove seam. The blood had long since washed away. The crack through its center remained. One broken thing carried forward. One reminder that the galaxy had changed because somebody stopped walking long enough to listen. Far beyond those peaceful walls, in the deep black past the outer rim and beyond the last clean hyperlanes, massive foundries glowed in silence around unfinished warships. Men and women who had never seen Coruscant with their own eyes studied stolen records and whispered the old names with faithful hatred. They did not kneel to Palpatine. He was dead, but they knelt to the dream he had built. Order through fear, obedience through pain, peace through permanent war. In one frozen command vault, a child no older than 9 stared at a holomap of the core worlds while an instructor in dark robes pointed to a single highlighted family name. Skywalker. The child asked one question. Why do they matter? The instructor smiled. Because they broke the First Empire. The shipyard lights burned brighter. Back on Coruscant, none of the people in the training court could see that darkness yet, but they could feel something better than certainty. They could feel readiness. Anakin rose, ignited a blue blade, and saluted his son. Luke copied him with a training saber much too big for his hands. Leia laughed again. Ahsoka stepped into the court at last. Obi-Wan shook his head and joined them. Rex called from the edge that if anyone broke the rail again, they were all running maintenance duty. For the first time in either life, Anakin Skywalker smiled without regret. Not because the future was safe, because this time, when the darkness came back, it would not find him alone. The sun did not feel warm, it felt heavy, like a blanket soaked in water. Anakin stood on the balcony of the senatorial apartment. 3 months since the temple fell. 3 months since the sky turned red. 3 months since he killed a future that hadn't happened yet. Coruscant was rebuilding. Scaffolding climbed the sides of the Senate Tower like metal vines. Speeders moved in slow, cautious lines. Nobody honked. Nobody shouted. The city was holding its breath, waiting for the other shoe to drop. Behind him, the glass door slid open. Soft footsteps on the rug. Padme. She didn't speak. She just walked up beside him and rested her hand on his arm. Her fingers were cool, steady. "The council is waiting," she said softly. Anakin didn't look at her. He looked at his reflection in the dark glass. Brown robes, messy hair, a scar on his chin from a blaster bolt that grazed him during the evacuation. He looked normal, but inside, the machine was still running. Koopa. He heard it. Every morning, every time he closed his eyes, the rhythm of the suit, the ghost in his lungs. "They want me to lead the reconstruction task force," Anakin said. His voice sounded hollow, like it belonged to someone else. "Mace Windu thinks I'm the only one who understands the logistics." "Logistics," Padme repeated. A sad smile touched her lips. "Is that what we're calling the slaughter now?" Anakin flinched. "Just a fraction. I know what I did, Padme. I know you do," she whispered. She leaned her head on his shoulder. "That's why I'm scared, Annie. You remember things that haven't happened. You carry wounds that aren't there. And sometimes when you hold Luke, you look at him like you're afraid he'll break." Anakin closed his eyes. She was right. Last night, Luke had cried in his sleep, a small, wet sound, and for 10 seconds, Anakin hadn't seen his son. He had seen a boy in black robes standing over a funeral pyre. He had smelled burning wood and hatred. He had reached for a lightsaber that wasn't there. Padme had caught his wrist, just in time. "I'm trying," he whispered. "I know," she said, "but the council doesn't want you to try, Annie. They want you to fix it. They want the chosen one to wave his hand and make the nightmare go away." She pulled back, looked him in the eye. "But nightmares don't end just because you wake up. They follow you into the kitchen, into the shower, into the war room." A chime echoed from the comlink on the table. Sharp, urgent. Anakin stared at it. "It's Obi-Wan," Padme said. "He said it was priority alpha." Anakin walked to the table, picked up the disc. His hand trembled. Just once. He hated that it trembled. Vader never trembled. Vader was a statue of Durasteel and will. He activated the hologram. Obi-Wan's face flickered into blue light. He looked tired, older than his years. The lines around his eyes were deeper. "Anakin," Obi-Wan said. No greeting, no warmth, just business. "We have a problem in the lower levels. Sector 4. "Droids?" Anakin asked. "Worse," Obi-Wan said. "Refugees, or what's left of them. Someone is distributing food rations down there, but the crates are marked with Imperial seals. Old stock, from the war." Anakin froze. "Imperial seals? The Empire never existed, Obi-Wan. We stopped it." "I know," Obi-Wan said. His voice dropped. "But someone down there thinks it did, or wants it to. They're using the old logo, the cog, the six-spoke wheel." Anakin felt the cold spread through his chest. Not fear, recognition. The symbol of the Galactic Empire. "It's just graffiti, Obi-Wan. Kids playing soldier." "It's not graffiti," Obi-Wan said. "It's a recruitment drive, and the man leading it, he's wearing white armor, not clone armor. Something new, something sharper." The hologram zoomed in. A grainy image from a security cam. A figure standing on a crate in a dim alleyway. Tall, faceless helmet, white plating with red markings. A cape that hung too straight, too stiff, and in his hand, a baton that sparked with blue electricity. Anakin stopped breathing. The room tilted. The smell of ozone filled his nose, not the hologram, real ozone, coming from his own memory. "The Inquisitors. They're here," Anakin whispered. "Who?" Obi-Wan asked. "The Hunters," Anakin said. He grabbed his lightsaber from the table. The metal was cold. "Palpatine didn't just build an army, Obi-Wan. He built a contingency. If the chips failed, if the Jedi survived, he had a plan B." He looked at Padme. Her face was pale. She was holding her stomach, protecting the life inside, protecting the future. "Stay here," Anakin ordered. The voice wasn't his, it was deeper, colder. Lock the doors, activate the shield generator. Don't open for anyone, not even Rex. Anakin, I mean it, Padme. He snapped the command out like a whip. Then he saw her flinch, saw the fear in her eyes. Not fear of the enemy, fear of him. The mask slipped, just for a second. He softened, reached out, touched her cheek. I'm sorry, he breathed. I'm still learning how to be here, how to be safe. Just come back, she whispered. Come back as yourself, not as the ghost. Anakin nodded. He turned to the hologram. I'm coming, Obi-Wan. Don't engage the target. If that's who I think it is, a lightsaber won't be enough. The rain in the lower levels tasted like acid. It slicked the rusted walkways and pooled in the craters left by old bombing runs. Anakin landed his speeder in a shadowed alcove. The engine whined down. Silence rushed in, heavy, wet. He stepped out, pulling his hood low. The brown robe blended into the grime. The alley ahead was crowded. Twi'leks, humans, Rhodians, all pressing toward a makeshift stage built from shipping containers. Floodlights cut through the smog, harsh, white. And there he was, the figure in white armor. He stood tall above the crowd. Voice amplified by a modulator. Smooth, cultured, dangerous. The Jedi failed you, the voice boomed, echoing off the damp walls. They preached peace while the galaxy burned. They hoarded power while your children starved. But the new order, the true order, offers structure, safety, purpose. Anakin moved through the crowd, shoulders hunched, eyes scanning. He saw the faces, desperate, tired, people who had lost everything in the Clone Wars and found nothing in the peace. They wanted a strong hand. They wanted someone to tell them what to do. They wanted Vader. And this man was selling a cheap copy. Anakin reached the front of the crowd. The white-armored figure paused, the helmet tilted, black lenses reflecting the floodlights. Reflecting Anakin. You there, the figure said, pointing the shock baton at Anakin. In the brown rags, do you doubt the truth? Aintam the Nampad. He looked up at the helmet, at the red markings, at the symbol painted on the chest plate, the six-spoke cog. I doubt everything, Anakin said quietly. The crowd murmured. The figure laughed, a sharp, barking sound. Doubt is a luxury for the safe citizen. Here, we deal in certainty. Join us. Take the oath. Help us purge the weakness from this city. What weakness? Anakin asked. The traitors, the figure hissed, the Jedi sympathizers, the ones who hide the Chosen One's corruption. Anakin felt the fire rise in his chest. Old anger, familiar comfort. It would be so easy to ignite the blade, to cut this pretender down, to show them what real power looked like. Kupa. The breath echoed in his skull. Do it, the ghost whispered. Crush him. Teach them fear. Fear is order. Anakin's hand drifted to his saber hilt. Then he remembered Padme's face, the flinch. He remembered Ahsoka walking away. He remembered the child in the temple nursery clinging to his neck. He let go of the hilt. Instead, he reached into his robe, pulled out a small object, a ration bar, stale, wrapped in foil. He held it up. My son is hungry, Anakin said, his voice carried, clear, human. Your order offers structure. Can it offer bread? The crowd went silent. The white figure stiffened. Bread is for the weak who cannot take what they deserve. My son is not weak, Anakin said. He stepped forward. 1 step, 2. He is 3 months old. He cries when it rains. He smiles when I hold him. And if your true order cannot feed him, then your order is just another lie wrapped in shiny armor. He tossed the ration bar onto the stage. It landed at the figure's boots with a dull clatter. We don't need a new order, Anakin said, turning to the crowd, meeting their eyes. We need neighbors. We need builders. We need people who remember what it costs to burn a city down. He looked back at the white helmet, and we definitely don't need bullies in costumes. The figure roared. Rage overriding protocol. He raised the shock baton. Blue lightning crackled along the tip. Seize him, he screamed. He is an enemy of the state. 4 guards rushed from the shadows, blasters raised. Anakin didn't move. He didn't draw his weapon. He just raised his hand, palm open. And he pushed, not with anger, with weight, with the sheer, immovable presence of a man who had held back a collapsing temple roof. The air solidified. The 4 guards flew backward, slamming into the shipping containers. Metal groaned. They slumped to the ground, unconscious. The white figure stumbled back, tripping over the ration bar, falling onto his rear, the dignity shattering. The crowd gasped. Then, silence. Anakin lowered his hand. He looked at the fallen leader. Tell your master, Anakin whispered, low enough that only the helmet could hear. Tell him the ghost is awake, and he's not haunting anymore. He's hunting. He turned, walked back through the parting crowd. Behind him, the floodlights flickered, died. Darkness reclaimed the alley. But Anakin didn't feel the dark anymore. He felt the rain, cold, real, cleansing. He reached his speeder, sat in the cockpit, hands gripping the yoke, knuckles white. He was shaking again, but this time, it wasn't fear, it was adrenaline, it was life. He keyed the comms. Obi-Wan, he said. Target identified. It's a splinter cell, amateur hour, but the symbol is real. Where are you going now? Obi-Wan asked. Anakin looked at the skyline, at the distant glow of the senatorial district, at the window where Padme was waiting. Home, Anakin said. I'm going home. He punched the thrusters. The speeder lifted, banking hard toward the light. Behind him, in the dark alley, the white helmet lay in the mud, and from the shadows of a nearby rooftop, a pair of yellow eyes watched the speeder disappear, waiting, patient, hungry. The war wasn't over. It had just changed shape. Qui-Gon Jinn stands in the alleyway. The dust of Tatooine coats his boots, fine, gritty, tasting of rust and old blood. He stares at the boy, 9 years old, scrawny, covered in engine grease, a slave's tunic hanging off one shoulder. But the eyes are wrong. They are blue, the same shade as the ice caves of Elam. The same shade as the sky over Coruscant on a clear day, but they are not the eyes of a child. They are flat, cold, ancient. They hold the weight of 1,000 funerals. They hold the stillness of a graveyard. You felt it, the boy says again. His voice is high, cracked, but the cadence is steady, rhythmic, like a metronome counting down to an explosion. Good, because it's going to get louder. Qui-Gon grips his lightsaber hilt. Instinct screams at him. Danger, not the wild, untamed danger of a Sith Lord, not the chaotic rage of a Darkside acolyte. This is different. This is the cold, calculated pressure of a predator who has already won. Who are you? Qui-Gon asks. He keeps his voice low. The marketplace is 10 meters away. Noise bleeds into the alley. Hawkers shouting, droids beeping, the hum of repulsor lifts. But in here, the air is dead. Stagnant. The boy smiles. It doesn't reach his eyes. It's a muscular contraction, a mimicry of human expression. I'm the ghost in your machine, Master Jin, the boy whispers. He steps closer, bare feet silent on the hot stone. I'm the reason your meditation failed last night. I'm the reason the living force screamed when you landed this ship. I'm the anomaly. Qui-Gon feels it now. The tremor. It's not coming from the boy's body. The boy is perfectly still. Heart rate slow. Breathing shallow. The tremor is coming from the space around him. The force is bending. Warping, gravitating toward this small, dirty vessel like water down a drain. You speak with a tongue too old for your mouth, Qui-Gon says. He releases the saber hilt, but he doesn't relax. He shifts his weight, ready to draw, ready to deflect. And you listen with ears too deaf to hear the truth, the boy counters. He points a greasy finger at Qui-Gon's chest, right over the heart. You're here for the hyperdrive regulator. Queen Amidala is stranded. The Trade Federation has blockaded Naboo. You need parts. You need luck. You think you found it in a junkyard. Qui-Gon freezes. He hasn't told anyone the Queen's name. Not here, not on this rock. Obi-Wan is guarding the ship. Padme is disguised as a handmaiden. The boy shouldn't know. How do you know that name? Qui-Gon's hand snaps back to the saber. The leather creaks. The boy laughs, a dry, barking sound. I know everything, Jedi. I know that Obi-Wan is pacing the ramp of your Nubian cruiser right now, worrying about your recklessness. I know that Jar Jar Binks is currently trying to eat a frog dog in the market square. And I know that in 3 days, you will fight a Zabrak with a double-bladed lightsaber in a reactor shaft, and you will die. The words hit Qui-Gon like physical blows. Die. The word hangs in the hot air. I am a master of the Jedi Order, Qui-Gon says stiffly. I do not fear death. You should, the boy hisses. The playfulness vanishes, replaced by raw, searing intensity. Because your death isn't the tragedy, Qui-Gon. Your death is the catalyst. It's the first domino. You die, and your Padawan takes you up on your request to train me. He trains me out of guilt, out of duty. Not out of love. And that failure, that single microscopic failure of mentorship, burns the galaxy to ash. Qui-Gon feels a chill crawl up his spine. Despite the twin suns beating down, sweat turns cold on his neck. You speak of things you cannot understand, boy. I understand fire, the boy says. He holds up his hands, small, trembling slightly, not from fear, but from the sheer effort of containing the ocean inside him. I understand burning. I understand what it feels like to have your skin melted off and replaced with Durasteel. I understand what it feels like to watch the woman you love die in childbirth because you were too weak to save her. Kanan recoils, steps back, hits the alley wall. The specificity, the horror, the raw, unfiltered pain in the child's voice. It's not a story, it's a memory. Padme, Kanan whispers. The name slips out before he can stop it. The boy's eyes narrow. The blue irises seem to darken, shift toward violet, toward black. Don't say her name, the boy growls, low, dangerous. You don't earn the right to say her name, not yet. Not until you fix this. Fix what? Qui-Gon demands. His mind is racing, calculating. Is this a Sith trick? An illusion? A test sent by the Council? No, the Council doesn't deal in such visceral nightmares. This feels inevitable. The Senator, the boy says. He spits the word like poison. Palpatine, Qui-Gon blinks. Supreme Chancellor Palpatine? He is an ally of the Republic, a voice for the oppressed. He is a cancer, the boy corrects. He is the disease you mistake for the cure. He sits in his office on Coruscant, sipping Chandrilan wine, smiling at your reports, while he orchestrates the invasion of his own homeworld. He created the Trade Federation blockade. He funded the armies. He wrote the script you are currently acting in, scene by scene. Qui-Gon shakes his head. Impossible. The Senate would never allow a Sith to rise to Supreme Chancellor. The Senate is asleep, Qui-Gon, the boy shouts. The sound echoes off the stone walls. A passing droid pauses at the alley entrance, optical sensors whirring, then moves on. The boy lowers his voice instantly. Back to a whisper, back to the grave. They are asleep because Palpatine sings them lullabies. He plays the victim, the humble servant, while behind the mask, behind the kindly grandfather face, he is Darth Sidious. The name drops into the silence like a stone into a deep well. Darth Sidious. Qui-Gon has heard the name. In the ancient texts, in the forbidden archives of the temple. A shadow, a myth, a boogeyman used to scare younglings into obedience. You lie, Qui-Gon says, but his voice lacks conviction. He thinks of the darkness he felt in the Senate building. The cold spots in the corridors, the way the Chancellor's eyes seem to look through him, not at him. I don't lie, the boy says. I bleed truth. I lived it. I served him. I knelt before him. I killed for him. I burned worlds for him. All because I thought he could save her. All because I was a stupid, arrogant boy who thought love was a weakness to be overcome. He looks down at his feet, at the dust swirling around his toes. I was the chosen one, he whispers, and I chose wrong. Qui-Gon stares at the boy, really stares at him. He sees the scars on the knuckles. The burn mark on the wrist, old, faded, shaped like a credit chip brand. The posture of a soldier waiting for orders. If you are who you say you are, Qui-Gon says slowly, choosing his words like stepping stones across a river of lava. If you are, Anakin, from a future that has not yet come to pass, then why are you here? Why reveal yourself to me? Why not go to the Council? The Council? The boy barks a laugh again, bitter, sharp. The Council would lock me in a room. They would study me. They would fear me. Mace Windu would see a threat. Yoda would see a disruption in the Force. They would try to fix me, and in trying to fix me, they would push me straight into Palpatine's arms, just like they did last time. He looks up, locks eyes with Qui-Gon. I didn't come here for the Council, Master. I came here for you. For me. Because you were the only one who listened, the boy says softly. In the old life, in the ashes, you were the only one who saw me as a person, not a prophecy. You wanted to free me, not because I was powerful, but because it was right. He takes a step forward, closes the distance. He smells of ozone and sweat and something metallic, like blood on a knife. You died for me, Qui-Gon. You took a blade to the chest so I could fly, and I repaid you by becoming the monster under your bed. The boy reaches out, takes Qui-Gon's hand. The grip is surprisingly strong, calloused. Hot. This time, the boy says, we do it my way. No council, no secrets, no shadows. We expose the snake before it bites. Qui-Gon looks at the small hand gripping his. He feels the pulse. Fast, terrified, alive. Beneath the armor of the voice, beneath the knowledge of the future, there is a child. A scared, lonely child, carrying the weight of a dead galaxy. What is the plan? Qui-Gon asks. He doesn't know why he asks. He should drag the boy to the ship, hand him over to Obi-Wan, fly away. Forget this madness. But the living force is screaming at him. Listen, learn, change. The boy releases his hand, steps back, shadows reclaim him. Step 1, the boy says. We don't fix the hyperdrive. We let the Queen stay stranded. We let the desperation mount. Palpatine needs her desperate. He needs her to sign the treaty. He needs her to call for a vote of no confidence in Chancellor Valorum. Qui-Gon frowns. That would doom Naboo. The Federation would occupy the planet. The Federation occupies Naboo anyway, the boy snaps. History doesn't change that easily, Jedi. The big rocks stay in place, but we can change the pebbles. We can change the ripple. He points to the sky, to the invisible stars beyond the blue haze. While the Queen is stuck here, you and I, we take a detour. We don't go to Coruscant to plead for help. We go to Coruscant to plant a bomb. A bomb. Not a thermal detonator, the boy says. A dark smile touches his lips. A truth bomb. I know where the bodies are buried, Qui-Gon. I know where Palpatine keeps his Sith artifacts. I know which senators are on his payroll. I know the frequency of his private comm channel. I know the face of his master. His master? Qui-Gon's breath catches. Sidious has a master? He did, the boy corrects. Darth Plagueis, immune, obsessed with cheating death. Palpatine killed him in his sleep, but he kept the research, he kept the notes, and he kept the bank accounts. The boy reaches into his tunic, pulls out a small object, a data chip, old, scratched, glinting in the shaft of sunlight piercing the alley. I stole this from Watto's safe box, the boy says. It belonged to a smuggler who crashed in the Junland wastes 10 years ago, a separatist courier carrying insurance policy data, encrypted, but I know the key. He tosses the chip to Qui-Gon. The Jedi catches it. Reflex. The metal is warm. What's on it? Qui-Gon asks. Proof, the boy says. Transactions, shipments of Cortosis weave, bribes to the banking clan, and a holographic recording of a meeting between Newt Gunray and a hooded figure. The voice is modulated, but the silhouette is unmistakable. Qui-Gon turns the chip over in his fingers. It feels heavy. Heavier than a lightsaber. If I take this to the council, no council, the boy interrupts. Firm, absolute. The council is compromised, not by treason, by bureaucracy, by blindness. If you show this to Mace Windu, he will form a committee. He will investigate. He will meditate on it for 3 months while Palpatine consolidates power. By the time they act, the Clone Wars will have started. The boy leans in, whispers against Qui-Gon's ear. We leak it to the HoloNet, to the independent news feeds, to the underground channels on Corellia. We flood the system with the truth before Palpatine can build the firewall. We make the galaxy see the monster while he is still wearing the mask of a saint. Qui-Gon pulls back, looks at the boy. That is reckless, dangerous. It could cause a civil war. The civil war is coming anyway, Qui-Gon. The boy's composure cracks. Just for a second, fire leaks out. Heat, rage. Palpatine has been planning it since before you were born. He has the clone army waiting on Kamino. He has the droid factories running on Geonosis. He is building the chessboard, and you are all just pieces waiting to be knocked over. He grabs his own head, fingers digging into the messy hair, breathing hard, ragged, Copa. He mimics the sound again, unconsciously, a ghost habit. Qui-Gon watches him, watches the struggle. The war inside the 9-year-old skin. We don't have to fight the war, Annie, Qui-Gon says softly. He uses the name, testing it, claiming it. The boy flinches, stops breathing, looks up, eyes wide, vulnerable. Don't call me that, he whispers. Not unless you mean it. Not unless you're ready to carry the weight of it. I mean it, Qui-Gon says. He pockets the data chip, feels it pressing against his thigh. A secret, a weapon, a promise. I mean it, Anakin. The boy stares at him, searching for the lie, searching for the trap, finding neither. Slowly, the tension leaves his shoulders. The ancient mask slips, just a fraction, revealing the tired child underneath. Okay, Anakin breathes. Okay, master. He turns, looks toward the end of the alley, toward the bustling market. Watto is going to be angry, Anakin says. A hint of the old boy returning, the slave who fears the whip. I was supposed to clean the vaporators. Forget Watto, Qui-Gon says. He places a hand on the boy's shoulder. Solid, warm, protective. We have a ship to catch, but not the Royal Nubian. Anakin looks up. Which one? Qui-Gon smiles, a grim, tight expression. The one that goes to the places the Republic doesn't look. The one that flies under the sensor nets. Do you know a pilot who owes you a favor? Anakin's grin returns, real this time, mischievous, dangerous. I know a Rodian, he says, greedy. Smells like wet dog, flies a freighter held together by duct tape and hope, but he can outrun a Star Destroyer. Perfect, Qui-Gon says. Lead the way. Anakin nods, turns, starts walking out of the shadows, into the light. But before he leaves the alley, he stops, looks back over his shoulder. The blue eyes catch the sun, flashing cold. One more thing, Qui-Gon, he says. Yes, when we get to Coruscant, when we confront him, Anakin's voice drops, into the register of the machine, into the grave. Don't hesitate. Don't try to arrest him. Don't try to reason with him. He raises his small hand, makes a fist. If you see the yellow eyes, if you see the hood, you strike to kill. Because if you leave him breathing, he will make sure you never breathe again. He turns, walks into the crowd. Swallowed by the noise and the heat and the life of Mos Espa, Qui-Gon stands alone in the alley. The silence rushes back in, heavy, oppressive. He touches the data chip in his pocket. He feels the phantom weight of a black helmet. He hears the echo of a mechanical breath. Coupe. The game has changed. The board is flipped. The pieces are moving. And for the first time in 1,000 years, the Jedi Order is not leading the charge. They are following a ghost. The freighter smells like wet fur and ozone. Greedo's ship, the Krait's Fang, is a heap of bolted-together garbage held in the air by hope and illegal engine modifications. The cockpit vibrates, a constant, teeth-rattling hum that travels up the spine and settles in the skull. Qui-Gon sits in the co-pilot seat. Straps tight across his chest, brown robes stained with Tatooine dust. His hand rests on the data chip in his pocket. Hard plastic, cold, heavy with treason. Beside him, the boy sits. Anakin, or whatever wears Anakin's skin now. He is strapped into a crate padded with rags, too small for the seat. His legs dangle, feet don't touch the floor. He looks ridiculous, a child playing pilot, but his hands are steady. They rest on his knees, palms down, fingers spread, not gripping, not trembling, waiting. Outside the viewport, the stars stretch, blue lines bleeding into white, hyperspace. The tunnel of light that swallows distance. We drop out in 5 minutes. Greedo grunts from the pilot's chair. The Rodian's snout twitches. He smells fear, or maybe he smells credits. Coruscant traffic control will hail us. I told them we're carrying volatile coaxium. They won't scan too deep, too afraid of a boom. Qui-Gon nods. Good. He looks at the boy. You're quiet. The boy doesn't look up. His blue eyes reflect the hyperspace tunnel, swirling, endless. I'm memorizing the route, the boy says, voice flat, in case we need to run. Again. We won't run, Qui-Gon says. He tries to sound confident. He fails. The doubt leaks out. Tastes like copper. We have the proof. The HoloNet terminal in the lower levels. Once we upload this, the truth spreads like fire. Fire needs oxygen, the boy whispers. He turns his head. Slow, mechanical. The neck muscles tense. Palpatine controls the oxygen, Qui-Gon. He controls the news feeds, the Senate guards, the Jedi Council's ear. You think a data chip stops a man who has been planning this since before you were born? It stops the lie, Qui-Gon insists. It stops nothing, the boy snaps, sharp, sudden, like a whip crack. It just changes the battlefield. Instead of fighting in the shadows, we fight in the light. And in the light, people die faster. He looks at his hands. Small, greasy, 9 years old. I've seen the light, Master. It burns worse than the dark. Qui-Gon feels a chill that has nothing to do with the ship's recycling system. He wants to reach out, to comfort the child, to tell him it will be okay, but he can't, because the child isn't scared. The child is resigned. The proximity alarm screams. Red light floods the cockpit, pulsing. Urgent, real space. Greedo yanks the yoke. The ship lurches. Gravity slams them back into their seats. The stars snap back into points. Hard, diamond bright. And there it is, Coruscant. A ball of gold and silver hanging in the void. Endless city. Endless lights. A trillion lives stacked on top of each other, breathing the same recycled air, dreaming the same manufactured dreams. Beautiful, rotting, traffic control. This is Krait's Fang. Greedo barks into the comms, requesting landing vector. Level 1313, cargo hazardous. Repeat, hazardous, static. Then a voice, smooth, cultured. Too calm for a traffic controller. Krait's Fang. This is Coruscant control. Vector denied. Divert to Sector 4 for immediate inspection. Republic security is awaiting your arrival. Greedo freezes. His 3 eyes widen. Republic security? I didn't ping any flags. Coaxium is legal in the outer rim. The boy moves. Fast. Blur fast. He unbuckles. Drops to the deck. Scrambles over the console. His small hand slams onto the comm panel. Cuts the transmission. Silence fills the cockpit. Just the hum of the engines. Just the heavy breathing of a Rodian smuggler and a Jedi Master. They know, the boy says, softly. Impossible. Qui-Gon stands, unbuckles. We haven't even landed. We haven't transmitted anything. How could they know? The boy looks at him. Pity in those ancient eyes. Deep, sorrowful pity. Because he felt me, Qui-Gon. The moment I woke up in the desert, the moment the connection opened, Palpatine felt the ripple. He knows the Chosen One is not where he is supposed to be. He knows the variable has changed. He points to the viewport, to the golden sphere growing larger. He's not waiting for a cargo scan. He's waiting for me. Greedo reaches for his blaster. I ain't dying for a slave boy and a crazy Jedi. I'm turning us around. No, the boy says. He doesn't shout. He doesn't move. He just looks at the Rodian, and the air in the cockpit changes. It gets heavy, thick, like walking into deep water. The temperature drops 10 degrees. Frost crystals form on the viewport glass, spider webbing outward from the center. Greedo chokes, hands clawing at his throat, eyes bulging, not because of cold, but because of pressure. Invisible fingers closing around his windpipe, not touching, just squeezing. The boy's eyes darken, blue shifting to gray, gray shifting to black. Land the ship, Greedo, the boy whispers. The voice vibrates in the metal walls, in the bolts, in the bones. Land it in the underbelly. Level 1313, Docking Bay 94. Do it now, or I will peel your mind apart like a ripe fruit. Greedo gasps, nods, frantic, terrified. He slams the thrusters forward. The ship dives toward the golden planet, toward the neon abyss. Qui-Gon stares at the boy, horror dawning in his gut. Cold, sickening. Anakin, he breathes. Stop. You're hurting him. The boy blinks. The darkness recedes. The blue returns. The frost on the glass melts, drips. Greedo sucks in a ragged breath, coughs, slumps over the yoke, but his hands keep flying. Landing sequence initiated. The boy looks at Qui-Gon. Shame flickers across his face. Brief. Gone. I told you, the boy says. I'm not the hero you remember, Master. I'm the thing that keeps the hero alive. He jumps down from the console, lands softly, walks to the airlock. Get ready, he calls back. The welcome committee is going to be rude. Level 1313. The air tastes like sulfur and fried noodles. Neon signs buzz overhead, flickering pink, green, blue, advertising pleasures that cost more than a life. Rain falls here, artificial rain, oily, warm. It slicks the Durasteel walkways, reflects the chaos. Qui-Gon walks fast, robes pulled tight, hood up, hiding the face that is currently worth 200,000 credits on the HoloNet. Beside him, the boy walks, hands in pockets, head down, looking like just another street rat, another ghost in the machine. Behind them, Greedo stays with the ship, paid off with a promise of silence and a threat of death. Where are we going? Qui-Gon hisses. He scans the crowd, Twi'leks laughing, humans arguing, droids rolling through puddles. Every shadow looks like a trap. Every glint of light looks like a sniper scope. The terminal, the boy says. He points to a rusted door down a narrow alley. Old Republic relay station, decommissioned, forgotten, but the hardline is still live. It bypasses the Senate firewall, direct feed to the independent networks, the ones Palpatine can't scrub fast enough. They reach the door, locked. Mag sealed. Qui-Gon reaches for his lightsaber. Stand back. No time, the boy says. He places his palm on the lock panel, closes his eyes. A spark jumps, blue, arcing from the boy's fingertips to the metal. The panel whines, smokes. Sparks shower the wet ground. Click. The door slides open. Groaning, rust flaking off the tracks. Inside, it's dark. Dust motes dance in the beam of Qui-Gon's glow rod. Banks of dead servers, tangled wires hanging from the ceiling like mechanical vines. And in the center, a single terminal. Green screen, blinking cursor, alive. Hook it up, the boy orders. He moves to the door, stands guard, small silhouette against the neon glow from the alley. Qui-Gon pulls the data chip from his pocket, hands shaking, just a little. He slots it into the drive. The screen floods with text, codes, dates, transactions. Transfer, 50 million credits. Recipient, Trade Federation. Authorization, Sidious. Shipment, Cortosis Weave. Destination, Camino. Authorization, Sidious. Order, Clone Template Acquisition. Subject, Jango Fett. Authorization, Sidious. Qui-Gon stares, breath catching in his throat. It's all here. The blueprint of the war, the receipt for the betrayal. He types the command, upload, broadcast all. The progress bar appears, red, slow, crawling, 10%, done. Qui-Gon whispers, it's uploading. In 2 minutes, the whole galaxy will see this. No, the boy says from the doorway. In 2 minutes, Palpatine will cut the hard line. He has overrides in the infrastructure, built them 20 years ago. Qui-Gon freezes. Then why did we come here? The boy turns. The neon light paints his face in stripes of pink and green. To make him show his hand, the boy says. To force him to act in the open. If he cuts the feed, he admits guilt. If he lets it run, he loses control. Either way, the mask slips. 20%. A sound echoes down the alley. Boots, heavy, rhythmic, marching. Not the scuffle of drunkards. Not the click of droids. Military. Qui-Gon draws his saber. Green blade ignites, hissing, casting long shadows against the server banks. Go, the boy says. Calm. Finish the upload. I'll hold the door. You? Qui-Gon laughs, nervous, hysterical. You're 9 years old, Annie. You can't hold off an army. The boy smiles. It's not a nice smile. It's the smile of a man who has choked admirals with his mind. I don't need to hold off an army, Master, he whispers. I just need to hold off him. The door blasts inward. Metal shrieks, tears apart. Flies across the room like shrapnel. Qui-Gon deflects. Instinct. The green blade sweeps a arc, spinning the debris away. Through the smoke, a figure steps. Tall, robed, dark brown hood hiding the face, hands clasped inside wide sleeves. He doesn't carry a weapon. He doesn't need one. The air around him bends, warps, screaming with silent power. Palpatine, the Supreme Chancellor, stands in the doorway of a forgotten relay station in the slums of Coruscant, and he looks pleased. Master Jin, Palpatine says. His voice is silk wrapped around a razor. And, young Skywalker, I wondered when you would arrive. Qui-Gon steps forward, saber raised, pointing at the Chancellor's chest. It's over, Palpatine. The data is uploading. The Senate will see the truth. The Jedi will see the truth. Palpatine tilts his head. The hood shifts, shadows deepen around the eyes. The truth? Palpatine chuckles, low, dry, like dead leaves skittering on stone. My dear Jedi, I am the truth. I am the order this galaxy desperately craves. You think a few files change that? You think exposing the mechanics of power stops the need for it? He raises a hand, palm open. The progress bar on the screen freezes. 45%. Stopped. I control the flow, Qui-Gon, Palpatine says softly. I control the current. You are swimming upstream against a tidal wave of my own making. He looks past the Jedi, to the boy standing in the shadows. And you? Palpatine's voice drops, changes, loses the grandfatherly warmth, gains a metallic edge, a hiss. You are interesting. I felt you wake up, little one. A consciousness, vast, ancient, familiar. The boy steps forward, out of the shadows, into the neon light. He looks at Palpatine. No fear, no awe, just pure, distilled hatred. Hello, Sidious, the boy says. The name hangs in the air. Poisonous. Palpatine freezes. The polite mask slips, just for a microsecond. The yellow eyes flare beneath the hood. That name, Palpatine whispers, has not been spoken in 1,000 years. Who are you? I'm your future, the boy says. I'm the mistake you make when you think you've won. I'm the ghost in the machine. He raises his small hand, points at the Chancellor, and I'm here to delete you. Palpatine laughs, a bark of genuine amusement. Delete me? With what? A temper tantrum, a parlor trick. Lightning erupts from Palpatine's fingertips, blue, white, blinding, forking through the air like jagged veins, screaming toward the boy. Qui-Gon moves. Anakin, he throws himself in the path, saber raised to catch the bolt, but the lightning doesn't hit him. It stops, mid-air, frozen, crackling, held in place by an invisible wall. The boy stands between Qui-Gon and the Chancellor, hand outstretched, palm facing the lightning, catching it, absorbing it. The blue energy swirls around the boy's fingers, dancing, hissing, feeding him. Palpatine's eyes widen. The smile dies, replaced by shock, by recognition, by fear. That technique, Palpatine breathes. To the minis, but twisted, corrupted. Only one other knew how to consume the storm. Darth Vader, the boy finishes. He squeezes his fist. The lightning implodes, snuffs out, gone. Silence returns to the server room. Just the hum of the cooling fans, just the ragged breathing of the Jedi. The boy lowers his hand. Smoke curls from his fingertips. Smell of ozone and burning meat. I learned that in the dark, Sidious, the boy says, voice trembling with power, with rage. You taught me well. Eventually, Palpatine takes a step back. The first retreat, the first sign of weakness. You are not the boy, Palpatine hisses. The hood falls back, revealing the pale face, the wrinkled skin, the yellow eyes burning with Sith fire. You are something else, an echo, a remnant. I am the consequence, the boy says. He looks at Qui-Gon. Now, Master. Qui-Gon blinks. What? The upload is stalled, the boy says, eyes locked on Palpatine. He's holding the network with his mind. I can't break his hold and fight him at the same time. Not in this body. Not yet. He grits his teeth. Blood trickles from his nose, red against the pale skin. You have to finish it. You have to kill him. Qui-Gon stares at the Chancellor, at the monster revealed, at the man who bought the galaxy with blood. The Jedi code flashes in his mind. Do not kill in anger. Do not strike down the unarmed. Arrest him. Bring him to justice. He's unarmed, Qui-Gon whispers. We can take him to the council. We can expose him legally. The boy screams, a raw, torn sound of frustration. Legality is a luxury for the living, Qui-Gon. The boy collapses to one knee, hand still outstretched, holding the invisible weight of Palpatine's will, veins bulging in his neck, skin graying. He is killing me, the boy gasps. He is crushing my mind. If you don't strike, if you hesitate, he wins. He always wins because good men wait for permission to save the world. Palpatine smiles again, cruel, triumphant. The boy is right, Jedi, Palpatine mocks. He knows my methods. He knows my heart. Hesitation is the disease of your order. It is how I will bury you all. He raises both hands. Lightning gathers again, brighter, stronger, building for a kill shot. Qui-Gon looks at the boy, dying, bleeding, burning himself out to hold back the dark. He looks at the screen, 45%. Frozen. He looks at the monster, and he remembers the alleyway. If you see the yellow eyes, you strike to kill. Qui-Gon Jinn makes his choice. He drops the defense. He drops the code. He drops the peace. He grips the saber with both hands, and he charges. Palpatine fires. The lightning screams across the room. Qui-Gon doesn't deflect. He spins. The Force guides him. The living Force. The Force of action, of now, of survival. He slides under the bolt, feels the heat singe his robes, smells the burning wool. He is inside the guard. Palpatine's eyes widen. Too late. Always too late. The green blade thrusts upward, clean, precise, merciless. It pierces the dark robes, through the chest, through the heart that beat with greed for 1,000 years. Palpatine gasps, a wet, choking sound. The yellow eyes stare down at the Jedi, at the boy, at the impossible. You. Palpatine wheezes. Blood bubbles on his lips. Black, thick. You cheated. I learned, Qui-Gon whispers. He twists the blade. Palpatine's hands drop. The lightning dies. The pressure in the room vanishes. The body slumps. Heavy. Dead. Just meat and ambition rotting on the floor. Qui-Gon pulls the blade free, retracts it. Snap, hiss. Darkness returns. He turns to the boy. Anakin is on the floor, curled in a ball, shaking. The nosebleed has stopped, but his eyes are closed, exhausted, empty. Qui-Gon drops to his knees, scoops the boy up, holds him tight, rocking. "It's over," Qui-Gon whispers, tears cutting tracks through the grime on his face. "It's over, Annie. He's gone. You're safe." The screen behind them beeps. The progress bar unfreezes. 46%, 50%, 75%, 100%. Upload complete. The truth floods the galaxy. The holonet lights up with the face of a dead chancellor and the files of a traitor. The Senate will wake up screaming. The Jedi will wake up confused. The war that hasn't started yet, dies in the womb. Qui-Gon holds the boy, feels the heartbeat, slow, steady, alive. "Did we win?" the boy mumbles against his chest, voice small, childlike again, the ghost retreating. Qui-Gon kisses the top of his head, smells of sweat and ozone and hope. "Yes," Qui-Gon says, "we won." But as he holds the savior of the galaxy in the dark of a forgotten server room, he feels it, a ripple in the Force, distant, cold, watching. Palpatine is dead, the body is cooling on the floor. But the Sith are a rule of two, and somewhere, in the deepest shadows of the unknown regions, a master waits, or perhaps a apprentice. The boy opens his eyes, blue, clear, innocent. "Master?" he asks. "Why is it so cold?" Qui-Gon tightens his grip, looks at the dead monster on the floor, looks at the living monster in his arms. "Because winter is coming, Annie," Qui-Gon whispers. "And we have a lot of work to do."